And we are live. Once again, this is the Heart Lady, Sharon. You already know that this series we're bringing to you all about different types of healing modalities. And my mission is to debunk the the mysticism around these different healing ways because a lot of people, these non-traditional healing, alternative medicine or complementary medicine, there are different ways that people hear about them. It's not anything new. They call it new age. It's not new. It's old. It's ancient. It's what we used before pharmaceuticals came into play. And there are now, we're at the age where things are being heightened through the cosmos. People with gifts are now actually realizing it, using their gifts. And and I just think it's a wonderful thing for you to be able to recognize your innate gifts, the gifts that no one else has but you, your gift. And so I am on that mission, on that journey to help to educate, to help share, and to show you how you can self heal, that you don't have to just depend on what the medical doctors say. You can use that in conjunction because they also have a skill and a mission to help heal as well for those who really take the oath at heart. But here, using your own self care, being aware of what's going on in your body, being aware of your emotions, being aware of what's going on in your physical sense, and of course, integrating that with your spiritualness, whichever it is, whichever denomination or whichever path you use to connect with your higher self, that's what I'm here to talk about. So you'll be seeing quite a few different episodes. Today, I am so excited. I am so excited. I'm telling you. You heard my little accent come out there. I'm so excited to introduce to you this young brother. His name is Asadullah Omar Muhammad. A beautiful name for a beautiful person. Actually means Lion of Allah. Wonderful name. And guess what I just found out? Reason why it's Lion of Allah, because he's a Leo. And guess who's a Leo? So you already know he's in good company. We're in good company. Assad, tell us, welcome, welcome, welcome. Tell us about what you do.
Okay, well, let's see. To start off with, I have the ability to see auras and animal totems. I could see auras since I was, oh boy, I was really young. I think maybe 5 years old. And I started seeing them around the house, around just my family and friends. At first, I couldn't
Mhm.
identify them. I thought there was something wrong with my eye at first until I noticed they were taking on specific colors and there was a pattern. And so I told my mom
Mm,
about this, and she encouraged me to learn more. And she started getting books on auras, and that she was the one who told me about the name and the meanings of colors. And so the reason why I'm so proficient with my gifts is because she really allowed me to nurture. She really nurtured them.
okay. So before we even go further, there's some people, because remember I said this is about education and introducing.
Right.
I know what an aura is, but some people have no idea what an aura is. Could you break that down for us?
So just like we have our physical anatomy, we have our spiritual anatomy, and it has several components. In Chinese we have the various dantians. Those are the part where our life energy is focused. And I would consider aura to be the spiritual equivalent of our skin, just like our
Mm,
skin. Yeah, it reflects just like our skin reflects just like the shade and color of our skin can reflect our health. So too does aura. And just like skin has different layers, aura has different layers. So it's really or it can really be considered the metaphysical equivalent of our skin.
mm,
It's part of our metaphysical anatomy.
mm. And so you have the gift where you can actually see the color um, um, of the aura around the person. So I'm assuming that each color has a particular meaning that goes with it. And so, do you see it just readily, or is there something that you have to do?
Well, the
And
way that I can see it well at first, it caused me problems in school because I couldn't turn it off or focus on one person's aura at a time. So I'd constantly get sensory overload, and I was in and out of the nurse's office because I had, cluster headaches because of that. and I really had to really actually take breaks from school and really just stay at home until I could get that ability to turn on
Mm.
and down. Nowadays, I can even when I'm in a group of people, I'm still prone to sensory overload in large groups of people, but I'm a lot better at narrowing down whose aura I'm looking at. And nowadays, I'm even able to see someone's aura in my mind's eye. That's how I'm able to do phone consultations. I'm able to talk with them over the phone, and I'm able to see their aura, not so much through the phone, but in my mind. But I'm able to see it, like visualize it in my mind's eye.
Mine, yeah, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking that you are feeling that you are visualizing, but picking up the vibration, the energy vibration from their sound.
Hmm.
And because we know that energy is fluid. And so I'm in my mind, I'm thinking that you're picking up that and you're really in tune to not only seeing them, the sight, but also hearing them. So this is how it can transmute through the phone. Is that accurate?
Like you, yeah, that's very accurate. And like you said about debunking, I myself have seen sort of stereotypes of war videos on TV, and I'm thinking that, and I'm just looking at that, I'm thinking that's not how it works at all. Like you've ever heard, like, it's funny, it's always the same stereotype when someone's aura is bad. They said, "Oh, your aura looks dingy gray," and I'm thinking, okay, dingy isn't even a shade.
Okay, really?
And that's not what gray, and that's not what gray means either. So
Okay,
I'm just
so
able to.
on that note, what does gray mean?
Well, gray has different colors. You can sort of, to organize them, you can sort of break them up into families, just like we have the seven. It's sort of the seven chakra system where you
That's
have
what I was
red,
gonna go to.
yeah,
Yes, I
where you
figured.
have red, yellow, orange, blue. Yeah, colors have different families, and each color family has a meaning. For example, colors in the red family deal with things like passion and expression. So all the
Yeah.
colors in that family have that as its underlying meaning. The different shades have different meaning as well, but that's always going to be the underlying meaning. Colors in the yellow family deal with communication. Colors in the green family deal with the matters of the heart. Green is actually the color of love, not pink, like everyone thinks.
That's right.
Colors of the blue
Absolutely.
family deal with things like insight, and colors in the purple family deal with things like higher consciousness. So they
High
so
conscious.
the color so the meaning of the color families do correlate with the meaning of the seven chakras. And
Okay.
and they and then when it comes to the more when it comes to the other colors like black, white, and gray, they have a bit more different. They have a bit more branching meaning since they're not in the main seven color family. For example, gray. Gray deals with things that are otherworldly. So gray doesn't actually have another thing that's important to understand is that they're not really any positive or they're not really any good or bad colors per se. You can see issues in someone's aura, but it doesn't really show up as one specific color. And
Okay.
sure, it sort of works out. It sort of works out. You can see with the aura's action or with its nature itself. But yeah, gray deals with things that are otherworldly and shifting. Colors of
Mm.
gray family deal with things like shifting. The way I sort of imagine is that the
And so
color
when
you
you
can
say shifting, that's going in and out of a dimension. What when you referring to
yeah,
shift?
something like that. The way I always imagine it is like you can imagine the color gray as representing the nature of something like smoke or mist.
Hmm.
Something that's shifting, something that's transient. So I don't really see people with. I'll get more into the meaning of the layers, but just for now, I don't really see
Hmm.
someone with gray nature aura because that energy in self represents something that's not meant to last very long from that shifting. And since I
Right.
mentioned color layers, like I said, auras can be the equivalent of our auras, basically the equivalent of our skin, spiritually
Skin.
speaking. And like
Right.
skin has different layers, aura has different layers.
And
You
there
have
and I'm sorry, but and depending on the mood that you're in or the health state that you're in, the aura colors are going to change, right?
yes, depending on the layer. There's the layer that I call the core layer or the nature layer.
Hmm.
The color in that layer represents our nature. And our nature is something that's sort of beyond our personality to an extent. It's actually the color in the nature layer, we get that as soon as we're in the womb.
Okay.
That's something someone can actually detect when you're in the womb. And
Wow.
the color in that, I don't know if it always stays the same. I know based on what my experience is, it does. It's not a
Hmm.
color that changes because it represents our nature. And
Okay.
one thing I want to know is that just because the color, and even if we have that as our nature, the way we act may not exactly be in accordance with the color in that layer, and that's a sign that someone's out of their nature. They're not
Hmm.
acting according to that color.
Right.
The color that changes and reflects what we're feeling is the outer layer, and that's the emotional layer, and that's the outermost layer of aura. And so it's the aura that's closest connected to this world, and that's why it reflects what we're feeling, and is so subject to change. If you're emotionally unstable, especially when someone's emotionally unstable and their aura and their emotions constantly shift, you'll be able to see that with the color constantly shifting, and the
Mm,
aura itself shifting, not being stable.
okay. So, you said some other things. Can you give me another myth, that you hear that people talk about when they say, "Oh, you could read aura"? What does that mean? Oh, no, that ain't true. Are there any other myths like you mentioned on TV? You see it. What other things do you hear so that we can kind of break that down for folks?
One thing I constantly notice that when people read people, they show people reading someone's on TV, they always show them with their eyes closed and their hands up like this, just like trying to feel it. And while there is some basis behind that, the extremities can pick up energy. It's just one of
Hmm.
those, it's one of those stereotypes, along with putting your hands up to your head like this when you're a psychic and things like that.
Yeah.
It's one of those examples of just exaggerated motions that you don't really have to do once you become
Okay.
proficient. I never, even when I was still a novice, I never had to put my hands up and see
Yeah.
to feel because I'm seeing it, because I'm
Right.
seeing
That's kinesthetic
yeah,
rather than
yeah,
visual.
yeah.
Yeah.
You put your hands up when you're trying to get a feeling, like a
Yeah.
physical feeling from
Yeah.
someone's aura, not when you're trying to see it. That's just
Okay.
another one. That's just another stereotype I noticed. Another thing, and this also brings me to how aura looks. Now, how aura looks, some people can see aura in different ways. Not everyone can, not everyone may see aura the exact same way that someone else does.
Hmm.
Also, that's a thing too. So, however, aura always is always around someone, and that's the main thing that's consistent. Some
Okay.
people may see aura, some people may see aura as just an outline, a color outline around someone's body. Some people may see it as an energy field. I, for one, see it as an energy field.
Right.
So it can vary. I know that it can vary somewhat depending on who's looking.
Right, right. So I think that there's also some people or imagine that an aura is like a halo just around the head, but it actually is something that you can see around the whole body, or is the color behind? Because I'm thinking of, how they take, you go to Sedona and they'll take those pictures of the color of your aura. What do you think about that?
I've 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 heard of it. I don't know too much about that, but I know from what I've seen from some of the pictures, the aura seems to this picture seem in a sense incomplete because the colors only appear around certain parts of the body or around
Mm,
or
right.
it's not around the whole body.
Mm.
And sometimes colors do appear like that, but that's not really aura can there's like I said, there's different layers and things of aura. The main aura that everyone's usually thinking about is the aura that surrounds our entire body, and that's the textural
Oh,
of it.
okay.
And what I mean by aura, even our every part of our body also has its own aura. Specifically, our organs, our heart has its own aura. So there could be
Right.
aura just around that heart, and you can
Oh,
actually, and when there's a problem with the heart, you can actually see it in the aura as well. So you have the full body aura, and you have the vital aura, which is the aura around your specific organ.
I did not know that. So that I learned something new. I didn't know that there was one around a specific organ, which leads me into asking, so if someone was coming to you and saying that they would like their aura read, what does that look like?
Specifically, when they want the aura red, yeah, they basically just want to know what color is it, what type of it is it, because there are different types of just basic aura as well, and that's generally what they mean. So what I would do is I just tell them the color of their aura, tell them what it means, and tell them the type of aura they have because I think at least as far as I know, four main types of aura. There's the generator, projector, reflector, and manifester. The most basic form of aura that everyone has is the manifester. And that's
Mm.
just, it's sort of, you could call it, you can just consider the vanilla aura. It's something that everyone has, doesn't really have any special properties to it or really have any, how should I put it? It's basically, you could say, quote unquote, normal.
Mm.
The
Okay.
projector
Hmm.
aura, which is what projector aura, which is somewhat what I have. Projector aura is aura that can peer into other people's aura. It excels at perception. Projector aura types are very good at, really sensing things around and projecting other people's energies. That's why it's called a projector aura. Reflector
Hmm.
auras really reflect someone's environment. someone who has a reflector aura will be very sensitive to what's going on around them because they'll be able to pick up on it more. My mother, for example, has a reflector aura, and she can sense every little thing out of order. With the room, it was one of the reasons it was one of the things that sort of got on each other's nerves a bit because I could never notice when things were out of order around the house, but she would just pick up on it instantly, and I was like, you said that's because of your reflector aura, you can sense when things are out of order. The
Right.
generator aura is an expanding aura, and that aura it's very powerful, but it can be very difficult to people with generator auras have a lot of powerful energy, but it's very difficult to control. The way it visually looks to me is
Mm-hmm.
aura that's constantly pulsating and expanding. You know,
Mm.
it's in the rhythm of their heartbeat too. So with every beat, the aura just expands and then it contracts and then expands again. So it looks like a pulsating type. So it looks
Mm-hmm.
like a pulsating type of thing. And as it
Okay.
expands,
Mm-hmm.
these are people who have just really powerful energy, and as a
Mm.
result, they could have a hard time controlling it.
Mm. And so when they have a hard time controlling it, how does that represent in their personality?
It doesn't so much represent their personality. It sort of more shows in their interaction with other people in their environment. When people have this powerful aura, because as it's expanding and it may encompass other people's aura, other people may just feel uncomfortable around them and they don't know why. That's because the aura is big. That person's aura is expanding over theirs, creating a feeling of discomfort. So I've had an
Right.
experience of someone's aura enveloping mine, and when that happens, it sort of creates this feeling of suffocation and like you're about to have
Mm-hmm.
a panic attack. So it's not a good
Right.
feeling. And so people who are around, so you may hear someone describe someone with generator aura as, oh, that person's really suffocating. I feel really suffocated around that person, even though they haven't
Right.
really done, even though they haven't really conventionally done anything to warrant that description.
Yeah.
It's just because of the way the aura interacts. So people with generator aura sort of have to learn to control how
Control.
far it expands. To
Right.
make those expansions more, very minor.
Right. So I see that as a generator. When someone walks in the room, they really have like a sense of presence, and you can
Yeah.
feel their energy without even having to look and see them, but you can just actually feel it. So,
Mhm.
how does one go about controlling or learning how to, yeah, to control it and to uh, not to modify it, but learn how to excel that skill so that they can fine tune it to become a practitioner like you? Is that
Of course.
strictly innate or is there school master teachers? How does that work?
Well, I didn't have any teacher per se. I basically the way you learn. First of all, you become aware of it
Hmm.
with which will happen. First of all, you have to be aware of the spiritual because
Hmm.
otherwise you're gonna sort of misidentify it.
Right. And that's how a lot of people are in mental institutions because
Precisely,
people don't really understand what's
you know,
happening. Hmm.
yeah, people who pick up, frequencies from other dimensions, they think they're crazy and things like that.
Right, right.
So yeah, so the first step is to identify what it is, and then there are some people who exist that teach you. Although I've discovered that the best way is to really explore it for yourself and through your own study. That's how I
Okay.
learned. My mom didn't actually teach me how to use aura and teach me what it is. She just provided me with the means for me to study myself. She provided me with books. She provided me with ways. This was let's see, this was when I was a child. So and I didn't
Right.
have my own laptop yet, so I learned things online. Wasn't as
Right.
common as it
Right.
was
Right.
now. So I basically learned. My mom had libraries of metaphysical books
Yeah.
that that she got. It was from my previous sisters, my four sisters, my four other sisters I have, but they weren't interested in this at all. They actually did have the ability to see auras, but they wanted to fit in. They didn't like how it made them seem abnormal, so they gave it up. And
Mm.
so when she had me, my mom really put it out there that she wants someone who would really embrace their gifts and embrace being
Mm.
different. And so that's why I have so much pride in who I am because that's what my mom wanted. And
Mm.
so all those spiritual books that she just had sitting in a huge library, she
Mm.
just passed those all on to me and I read them.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about spiritual, the same way when you exercise a muscle and it gets
Yeah.
stronger,
Yeah.
when you exercise your spirit, it gets
Yeah.
stronger, and you exercise your spirit through continued study.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Is there any book in particular that comes to mind that you could suggest for someone who's interested a little bit more about aura and
I'm
aura
trying to
reading?
remember. Most of my books are in storage at the moment. I'm trying to remember the name of that book. I think it was like The Language of Colors or something.
I think
The
I
Meaning of
have
Colors
one
or the
too.
Language of
Yeah.
Colors. And
Okay.
I do have some books with me, but they all deal with animal totems, which is also what I see.
Which is where I was going to transition to next.
Right.
That's why I wanted to wrap that up with the language of color and with the ability to go on the internet, you can certainly find a plethora of books on aura and aura reading. So I think that was very, very interesting. And yes, I am going to get my aura read by the famous master here. And if I like it, I'll share it with you. All right. So tell us, what does animal totem mean? Because
Uh, the,
I always think of, when I think of animal totem, I think of the Native Americans, who
mhm,
I believe have really, really used that as part of their ritual
mhm.
and belief. So tell us a little bit about what animal totem is.
Well, animal totems or sacred animals are omnipresent in all ancient cultures. And in terms of, and you can see them too, in terms of, the same people who can see auras can kind of see them too. The thing I noticed about animal totems is that I didn't see them at first. I saw the aura first, and then eventually I started seeing animal totems. I didn't start seeing animal totems until I think like a year or two later after I saw auras. And the thing I've noticed, animal totems are unique when compared to things like aura and our astrological sign and our number and our numerology number, in that the animals represent us and they're sort of personifications of our different aspects. But at the same time, they're sort of, in a way, separate. They have their own will. For example, even though you can see someone's aura, you may not always be able to see their animal totem because the animal totem is specifically cloaking itself so that someone won't see it. So the animal totems are able to interact in ways that other parts of ourselves, other aspects of ourselves cannot.
And why is that?
Well, like I said, sometimes animal totems are sort of represent our connection to the higher power, and the higher
Oh,
power knows things that, and
okay.
the higher power knows things that we don't.
Right.
For example, if someone's trying to, peer out our energy, that person may not have the good intentions, and
Hmm.
so it may be beneficial for them not to know what our animal totem is.
I
So,
see.
so
Absolutely.
like, yeah, so they may notice, for some reason, I just can't pick up your animal totem. I've had
Yeah.
that experience myself where someone who is really guarded, I can see
Hmm.
the aura, but their animal totem is always hidden. I know it's there, but I know that's how, but I can't identify it because I know that it's cloaking itself.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And another term for animal or for totem, Totem, is guide. Could that be? Is their
Yeah.
animal guide? And I agree with that. And this is one of the things, as someone who does a lot of energy healing, it's important that we protect ourselves doing some type of energy exercises before we leave the home, or before we're in large crowds, or before we're in front of certain areas, because of exactly what you said. There are energies, if you are not conscientious of it, that will take over. So I call those energy vampires, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's what my mom was calling them as well.
Okay. So how does one? So we know what an animal guide is, and it's there to help us. What? Finish that sentence. An animal guide is there to help us.
It sort of helps us on our true life path. We, and it's emphasis on the word true life path. The minute you ask how me reading someone's aura and things like that can help them, so many people, it's one of the new epidemics, well, that besides COVID, it's one of the
Hmm.
new epidemics where people don't know, they're going through life not knowing who they really are.
Right.
And I've noticed that when you don't know who you are, it's easier for people to take control of you. It's easier for you to go through life,
Hmm.
depressed and things like that. Where you don't have that, knowledge of self. My readings, the core focus of my reading is to help people understand their knowledge of self. And once you understand your knowledge of self, you understand your true path. And when you
Okay.
know your true path, you go through life with such confidence. Think that, so many people are dying without, doing what they feel like they should really be
Hmm.
doing.
Yeah, and it's the real big thing where people are really now trying to figure out what their life purpose is. And so if they came to you, Assad, knowing what their aura is, and knowing what their aura is for that particular time that they visit you, and whatever advice that you give them to help them uh, um, illuminate their auras, right? And knowing what their animal guide or totem is, that will help them to unravel what they specifically are here to do.
Yeah, some
Would that?
people, some people may wonder, well, how useful is it to just know who you are, just know who you are?
Hmm.
But you'll be surprised how many people, like when I read the auras, they say, "Wow, so that's why I'm like this or that," and
Right.
that's what I can do to help benefit that and things like that.
Mhm. Okay.
Also, another thing, and this is where animal totems, this is also where animal totems actually do play a big role too, because there's actually two type of animal spirits. You could
Mm.
call them spirits. The one that really represents us as in our nature, that's our totem. But there's also the animal spirit that represents the specific phase of life that we're going through, or something,
Hmm.
or the specific project we're undertaking.
Okay.
So when someone comes to me asking for their aura and asking them for knowledge of self, they usually come to me with a question saying, well, okay, well, I feel like this is going on in my life, or I'm going on this undertaking. What do you
Okay.
see about the undertaking? And so what I see an animal that represents that project that they're doing. And based on the meaning of the animal, it says, okay, during this project and phase of your life, you should be doing things like this and that. You should be staying away from this, and really able to give them a a true sort of a true list of things that they can do.
Hmm.
One thing that me and my mom always notice is that sometimes people who are spiritual and give readings, they identify things as specific problems. But we notice a lot of them don't actually give solutions. At least back then, they didn't give
Hmm.
solutions, and that was something me and my mom really wanted to do different. We wanted to give people solutions as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. Good. So how often would someone have to come to get a reading or to get an update?
Let's see. I'd say like once or twice a month. I would say like, and this could be the same person. Like I read them, and because a lot can happen in a month. So
Mm.
so as I read people, so it's almost like a sort of checkup. I'm not a doctor though. I don't diagnose. I don't do anything like
Hmm.
that, of course. But
Disclaimer.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. So when I read someone's aura and they say, okay, I want to know this is going on in my life, and
Hmm.
I want to do this or that. What do you see around me about that? And I look at their aura and their animal totem, and or their whatever animal spirits around them. And I say, okay, now I'll come back in like a month and we'll see how things have progressed from there. Another thing
Okay.
I started doing too is that I read my own animal totem, my own
Hmm.
animal spirit, once a moon phase.
Mm.
I sort of track it with the moon phase because the moon phase, every single moon phase from the waning crescent to the full moon to the new moon, each moon phase lasts a total of 4 days.
So that's real metaphysics, folks. And
Yeah,
that I'd love to, pick up and talk a little bit more about because that can
yes,
go into so many different areas. So, um, really understanding what an aura is, and how some people have the gift to be able to see that color. And when they come to you, and understand what that color represents, then you will help them to guide them to illuminate that. That's my word. I don't know what word you would use. Um,
enlighten,
Say that again.
enlighten.
Enlighten, absolutely, to enlighten them. So once they learn about their aura, it helps them to have some introspective about themselves, and it helps to give
Yes,
them
it's almost like
direction.
yeah, it's almost like opening a door for all things
Mm.
spiritual as well. Usually, when it
Hmm.
comes to entering the spiritual, there's usually that one gate that's blocking people's entry, and
Ah.
and that one gate is usually has to do with their knowledge of self. So the people who want to become more spiritual, I always say, okay, well, you need to get something like a reading. You need to get something to
Mm.
experience it, and whatever you experience and whatever you experience that gets you involved in the spiritual should be about yourself. And
Okay.
so,
Yeah.
yeah,
And not about other people and coming and
yeah,
trying to do all other kind of crazy things.
yeah. When
uh
you're taking the road to the spiritual,
yeah.
you should always want to use yourself as a
Yes,
focus.
absolutely.
And you
Thank you
want to
for
research
that.
things that are going to benefit yourself or benefit what you want to do.
And so with the animal totem, yeah, that's your personal guide. And also learning what that is, you are able to be able to use that. It's not, it's to me, it's like, some people may say, well, let me check in on my spiritual guide and see what I'm listening to or hearing from. So tell me a little bit about how they would use the animal totem, and how does that make a difference or maybe interfere with their own particular spiritual practices, because you're going to have
Oh,
those that are going to, oh, well, I go to Jesus for, he is my spiritual guide.
so
And people will have other deities that they may use, Shun and so forth. So tell us, how does that interconnect with their own particular spiritual practices?
well, it doesn't contradict the way our animal guides work is that there is what closest to us. You can have some other god some other deity that's a guide along with the spirit guide. That the two don't contradict each other. The spirit guide, your animal guide, is just what's closest to you.
Okay.
That makes sense. Another thing
Okay.
too is helping people. Spirit guides have, like I said, when it comes to metaphysical, things aren't black and white, good,
Right.
bad, things like that. So the spirit guide, so your spirit guide reflects both, your positive and what it refers to as contrary states, contrary
Right.
attributes. And you really need to learn about both, because your contrary attributes can tell you, more about, what you should be doing in life, what you should stay away
Yes.
from, things like that. For example, one of my animal totems is crow. And that's another thing. You can have more than one animal totem, by the way.
Oh,
Okay, so
okay.
one of my animal totems is crow. And crow stands for law, specifically sacred law. And
Hmm.
when someone has crows or animal totem like me, it means that they really need to understand that human law and human morality isn't true law and morality, isn't universal law and morality. And that's something I really went through a lot in my life, is that I never really had a black and white morality. I always looked to nature and the natural way of things. And
Hmm.
it caused me a bit of distress, because I'm wondering, why am I not feeling empathy for what other people are feeling empathy for? Why do I
Yeah.
see things so differently? And that
Yeah.
was before I knew what my animal totem was. And once I figured it out, I said, oh, that's why I feel this way. And that's the other thing about learning about what your animal totem, what your aura is. That sometimes it helps bring people closure, because some people, especially
Mm.
because some people really know they're different, but they don't know why. And so learning about that really helps bring you closure.
Right. Got you. Got you. Um, so good. Thank you for that. I think that this is very enlightening. And I'd love for people who are interested in learning a little bit more about what their aura is and their animal totem. Can you tell us how best to get, they can get in touch with you, how they can get a reading, and also, because there's a lot of charlatans, there's a lot of people who do things not for the best interest of individuals. So after you give us how to contact you, can you, or before you give us that, I just thought about that. How can we discern the type of reader,
Type of what?
the type of reader, to discern that there are so many different spiritual advisors, and some they really don't have the gift, but they
One thing
give
I
you
always recommend.
generalization. It's almost like when you read your horoscope, oh yeah, well, that can really fit anyone. So how can we really discern what how the reader has a good uh, um, has a good intent
Well,
on working with the individual?
people who seek readers, the main thing you should do is don't go to a reader blind. Like, just say, okay, just tell me anything. Really
Right.
go there wanting to know something specific. If you want to know about yourself, say, I want to know a reading more about myself and who I am, who I truly am. If you want a reading about a specific business or undertaking, ask about that. When my clients come to me, like, I have a website called healthwealthandromance.com, and
Say
that's a
that one more time for us.
my website is healthwealthandromance.com, all one word. And on that website, when people are scheduling a phone consultation with me, there's usually a section that says, okay, now what is it you want to know? And that, because when it comes to phone consultations, there usually has to be something to focus the information. Otherwise, it's just going to be a bunch of information here and there, and people may not know what to do with it, because you hear all the time, okay, so I have this information, but now
Right.
what do I do with it? That's why it's important for someone to know really, but to know really what they want.
Right. Okay.
So then,
All right.
because once they know what they want, then they'll know what to do with the information they've been given.
Got you, got you. So they have to really kind of. I'm assuming that I would go with referrals rather than just picking anyone unless your spirit really guides you to a particular one.
Yeah, precisely.
Okay, well, thank you, Assad. So before we wrap up, I like to ask my guests, what do you do physically to take care of your heart?
Take care of your heart and your, yeah, physicality does have something to do with it. Obviously, if you're physically unhealthy, that's going to reflect yourself spiritually and vice versa.
Absolutely.
And actually, there are certain foods we can eat that can even benefit our aura. And it's generally whatever color that aura is. For example, if someone has red nature aura, then eating health, they're eating red fruits and vegetables will help it, like
Right.
apples, tomatoes,
Right.
bell peppers. If you have green aura, then eating greens can help.
Right.
Also wearing the color
Hmm.
that your aura also helps. Doing things to getting more in touch with.
Yeah.
Basically,
So what do
someone
you do?
let's see. Well, one of my nature or one of the colors in it, you can have multiple colors in a single layer. By the way, there's that too.
Right.
One of my colors is black, and so I love wearing black. So I wear
Hmm.
black clothing.
Hmm.
I wear black clothing, things like that. Let's see. Another color in my nature layer is yellow, as they color in the yellow family. So I also try to do things that, I try to wear more yellow and things like that. And there's
Okay.
also
So
certain
what
frequencies.
so what I'm asking you specifically is what do you do to help take care? What do you do physically? So like, I may do you may do
Uh,
qigong or exercise, Pilates or yoga. What do you do?
Physically, that would be meditation. Meditation is, and it is a cliche thing to say, but it's true.
Mhm.
Meditation really helps all spiritual faculties.
Absolutely.
And the people have, and there's a lot of misconception of meditation too. Some people think you have to sit in the full lotus and just go on for like 5 minutes. And while that does help, meditation is really just about centering yourself
Hmm.
really really focusing.
Yeah.
So you can actually meditate just while you're sitting in a chair. Just sit still, put your hands on your lap, and just focus on your breathing. And that
Yes,
and
I
that
find that very,
that's
very effective because you
and,
always can come back to just concentrating on the travel of where the breath is coming in from the abdomen all the way up through your throat and holding
uh,
it and then slowly exhaling it. And if you're doing that consciously or even adding counting or adding a particular chant to it, chanting also, I love to chant because it really, really helps to keep me focused and I can block out everything. And
yeah.
so, is that one
So
of your spiritual practices?
yes, I've been doing chants since I could talk. The thing about me is that I was really born to be spiritual. That's someone who my mom wanted me to be. So when I was in the womb, or even when she was planning to conceive me, she specifically wanted someone who would, because my mom knew that with keeping a daily job, she wouldn't be able to be as spiritual as she wanted to be. So she was sort of living that through me. She wanted me to do that on her behalf. And
Yeah,
so with me, it was never sort of a thing where I became spiritual or I was sort of born into the
born
world.
into it.
Where
Yeah.
I was really born into this. And so
Okay.
that gave me, I don't want to say like I'm a prodigy or anything like that because I don't really know, but people I've noticed when it comes to spiritual things, I do pick up on things a lot faster and I advance a
Yeah.
lot faster than other people because I was born to do this.
You were nurtured to do that, and
Yeah,
because she was aware of that, that's where her desire for you to be. So I'm sure she was feeding you a lot of that knowledge from in the womb. And this is really something that I talk to young women about, or women that are pregnant. It is so very, very
yeah,
important. Your thoughts, your
yeah.
actions during time of pregnancy, because all of that does energetically transfer through the placenta to the baby.
Yeah, my
And
mom was
so
after, oh, I'm sorry, go on.
yeah, so it's really important that we pay attention. And so this is how you know that you knew innately that you are a spiritual being having a physical experience, right? That you are a spiritual being um, that is now becoming more aware. So when she saw that you started to have certain reactions, she also knew how to gear you, how to guide you
Yeah.
into developing that particular gift.
Yes, and my experiences with doing, so I've also done readings for children, specifically the parents of children who have these gifts, because they don't know, because unlike my mother, they might not know how to deal with them. For example, I've done readings for families where they're saying, well, my child's constantly picking up sounds. He's constantly staring at
Mm-hmm.
things. It looks like he's staring at nothing. I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I say your child's probably seeing things that you cannot see.
Yeah.
And it's important for parents to be aware of this so they can really guide their children
Yeah.
about things like that. So I'd say yeah,
I can see that people, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I can see people really misdiagnosing that and thinking it's autism or something like that.
I was actually, even nowadays, the person I'm staying with is still trying to work on getting my diagnosis for other reasons. But I actually was not officially diagnosed, but the people think I'm on the spectrum, and was almost diagnosed with. I think I was diagnosed with ADHD back in school
Hmm.
because I problem sitting still. And the people who can't sit still, that's because they have so much energy and things like
Right.
that. And
Yeah.
because I was always looking at things, and it's interesting. This was actually a really huge development in my. Such a huge event in my development because when I was diagnosed, the person I was seeing actually suggested that you should probably put it so he can focus in school. You should probably just put him on drugs to slow his brain
Yeah.
down. That's how I'm
Hmm.
working. My mom took me out of that place so fast.
I know that's right.
She took me out of there so fast because when I was taking a test, it was discovered that when I was studying, I was smarter than the teachers who were in the school. And so
Yeah.
she thought I was ridiculous. So why would you want to dummy him down just to be?
Yeah.
So eventually things got so bad for me in public school that I had to be homeschooled, like literally
Yeah.
schooled at home. Because
Yeah.
and even before that, I tried doing homeschool at other places, and that didn't work out. So
Hmm.
after all else fell, we said, okay. My mom was like, okay, I have to keep the higher power is telling me I have to keep in my home for him to really
Yeah.
develop. And sure enough,
Yeah.
once that happened, I made leaps and bounds with my development. I started seeing more things. And that's because I studied. That's the thing. When it
Yeah.
comes to these things, natural talent really only goes so far. You really have to nurture it through study and practice.
Thank you for that. Study and practice, and also having a good mentor as well, I think is also very helpful.
Yeah, you
So,
definitely don't want to be when you're spiritual. You don't want to be around people who are not spiritual because
yeah.
they're gonna. I've noticed it actually does have an effect. When some things happen with their aura, you can feel it physically. Like
Yeah.
like I describe it as like when someone's elevating and someone's not. It's sort of like those two energies are scraping against each other, and you can feel
Mm,
that. You can feel that, and it feels. I'm feeling it with the situation I'm going through, and it feels really bad. It creates this feeling of like suffocation, almost panic attacks. So, and
yeah.
that's something that people may not understand is that the issue is that when you have metaphysical spiritual issues, it reflects physically as well.
Yes, absolutely. You speak in my language. Thank you so much, Asa. I appreciate you taking this time. I'm hoping that not hoping, I'm sure that the audience is enlightened. And even if they were familiar with the subject, I'm sure that they learned something new just as I have. And so we will continue to bring you various types of modalities so that you can heal yourself physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So, Assad, would you tell us again how people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, but I didn't mention my number yet. My phone number, yeah, that's why I put my hand up. So my
Mhm.
phone number, the number to contact me is 770-899-0745. I'll repeat it. My phone number is 770-899-0745. And the way people schedule consultations, they call me. They say, okay, I want a phone consultation, and I say, okay, well, what is it that you want to know about? Do you just want knowledge yourself, or are you going through something? And then once they tell me that, then okay. So once you pay the certain amount, my readings do have fees, but they vary. The price of my readings vary depending on how much time.
Right. And I usually don't give out prices.
Oh yeah, I don't.
I'd
I
rather
don't.
just have that discussion between the practitioner
Yeah,
and the
precisely.
individual. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but once that's taken care of, then we schedule a date, and depending on what time's available,
Oh,
it can be that same day or the day after. So yeah, so that's just how it works.
thank you so much again. Okay, Heartbeats, you heard it. Check it out. Check out Assad. Get some more introspective and learn about yourself. Learn your aura and learn about your animal totem. You'll be so pleased that you did. So I'm ending this you again with the Heart Lady, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Take care of your heart, and your heart will take care of you. Ciao.